everyone, today's review is on a brand new fragrance. It's from Guerlain and it's called Imagine. So Imagine is actually a reissue of a fragrance that was released a few years ago called London. They released a few different cities and they came out in these rectangle exclusive bottles. They got discontinued and now they have reissued Imagine. I think I've got some footage of the bottle, so I'm going to put that here. So they've reissued Imagine in this beautiful Parisienne bottle. So it's in the Parisienne line and it is stunning. So I really wanted to love this fragrance based just on how beautiful the bottle was with the purple coloured perfume. Anyway, I did love it at first spray in the salon in the boutique in Paris. I really did enjoy that very first spray of Imagine, and when I made my purchase of Le Plus Beau Jour de ma Vie, they gave me some samples and I actually specifically requested a sample of Imagine. So she had to make it for me because they didn't actually have any official samples. So I've got a very generous sized dabber vial and I've already worn it a couple of times, but I am now going to review it for you. So I've just dabbed it all over my wrists, both wrists and the back of my hand. I'm not wearing any perfume up here at the moment because I'm quite, I don't know if you can see it, but I've had rashes and it's all dry and crusty, so I need to leave the perfume alone from up here. So this is not a full-on review of me actually fully wearing the perfume, but it is just me talking to you about how it smells to me and how it lasts on my wrists. So let's talk about the opening. The opening is quite magical actually, I think, and the title Imagine kind of works for it because it is very evocative and mystical. So there's rhubarb in here, but I also think there's other tart, fruity notes. It feels to me like there's a bit of grapefruit, but there's also something slightly violet-like that comes through, which I love. Just smells a little bit like there's violet, not in a heavy violet way, not like insolence, but just like there's a little bit of violet giving some depth to the sort of sharp fruity notes. I think that's really it for now. It does smell a little bit green as well. I'll come back to you with some further musings very shortly. Hiya, so I didn't come back to you yesterday on Imagine. I went to my friend's house and we had a really good chat and a catch up, walked down to the pub, had a really lovely Sunday roast, and I just kind of forgot all about it and there wasn't really a good time to come back and give you an update on the fragrance. So I'm wearing it again today, and today I'm on a night shift. So it's about 5:45 in the evening and I'll be working from 6:30 all the way through to around about 7 AM. I thought I would give this fragrance another go, so I've now got Imagine again on both wrists, and I stand by what I said about the opening. A very fruity, very pink and sour and sharp feel to it with a hint of violet. But I will come back to you and actually give you a little bit more about the fragrance at some point during my night shift. The lighting might be a bit poo, so I apologise about that. Hiya, so I'm sorry for the grainy image. I am in the dark in the car park at work and the time is 11:21 PM and I thought I'd give you an update on my fragrance. So I've got some notes in front of me. I've actually written down the notes officially. The notes are bergamot, grapefruit, rhubarb, rose, violet, green cardamom, tea, cedar and vetiver. I think it's in the ballpark of, if you like things like Yves Saint Laurent Paris And if you like fragrances that are quite fresh, like Atelier Cologne, if you like their citrus fragrances, it's in that kind of ballpark. However, there's a bit more to it in terms of there's a bit of a floral element and there's a little bit more going on in the dry down. To me, the fragrance would fit an Aqua Allegoria, so Guerlain's Aqua Allegoria line, which is all about more citrusy or fruity fragrances. It feels like one of those rather than a high-end Les Parisiennes fragrance. The Les Parisiennes are €230, and this to me doesn't smell like a €230 fragrance. It smells like a mainstream fragrance, although it is a little bit different. I'm not saying it smells like all the designer fragrances that are getting churned out all the time. It is a little bit different. It's now obviously been on my skin quite a few hours and it's still present and it has got depth. And I know that there's tea in it. I can kind of understand that tea note. The rhubarb remains throughout, start to finish. I'm finding the rhubarb is the main player. The rose, I wasn't necessarily picking out rose to start with. Now I know it's there. I understand that there is a rose and violet combination in here that's more present for the first few hours. So when you first spray it, you definitely get a very tart rhubarb and some pink, sour, sharp, fruity, floral elements. But now in the far dry down, I do get still the rhubarb, but it's not as predominant. The floral elements are phased down and you can smell this tea-like note. There's a tiny hint of woodsiness and muskiness, and I'm now getting just a tiny bit of a slightly caramel vanilla note, but it's only a hint. It's a hint with that sort of that tea-like note. I put some more up here just about an hour ago just to compare opening to dry down, and the opening is definitely quite a pretty fragrance, whereas the dry down loses that femininity of the florals and the sort of sweeter elements and smells more unisex. I do think a man can pull this fragrance off, however, he has to be comfortable with a rose and violet combination along with the less feminine aspects, so the rhubarb, the citrus notes. There's something about rhubarb, and cinnamon does this as well to my nose. There's something about rhubarb that can sometimes smell a little bit body odourish. It is, I don't know what it is, but it's almost not a BO, not your armpit BO, but it actually smells almost like unwashed groin. I know that sounds really disgusting, but sometimes you can smell someone who's very unwashed and you can specifically tell what parts of the body you might be smelling. Really, really gross. And rhubarb can sometimes come off a little bit like that to my nose. That's my interpretation of it. I don't know, let me know if that's something that you also pick up on, but be aware of that element. Rhubarb, I think, can be a little bit tricky, and in this fragrance I'm not entirely sure that I'm completely comfortable with it. I do enjoy it, and it does have a clean vibe to it. It definitely has, with the citruses and the rose violet combination, it smells quite clean and a little bit like makeup, you know, lipstick and powder. It does have that makeup feel, but with the citruses that adds a cleaner, fresher element. And then it's only when you get to the dry down that that freshness goes and you have this tea note coming through that's more earthy and a little more masculine, or a little less feminine, shall we say. So I think, from what I can tell, I don't think too much is going to change with this fragrance now. If it does, I'll come back and I will let you know. If it just gently fades away to nothing, then I'm not going to bother coming back, because it's a bit cold out here in the car park. I'll just let you know that I wouldn't be purchasing this. I think the bottle is absolutely beautiful and I'd love to see it in my collection, but not for 230 euros. It smells very mainstream, and for that reason it's not something that I'm desperately seeking to own. Definitely try it yourself. Try and get a sample if you can and test it on your skin. Just bear in mind, overall it is a fruity floral, but it is slightly different from the designer fruity florals that are getting churned out all the time. It's fresh and clean to start with, and then dries down to something slightly different with that tea note in there. Worth checking out. If you're a Guerlainophile, then you must check it out. But for me, on this occasion, it's a pass. I'm not going to be purchasing this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.